The most dangerous trap for men isn't falling in love, it's falling for the wrong woman. And here's the scary part. She doesn't need to yell, she doesn't need to threaten, she doesn't even need to openly fight with you. No, she drains you quietly. She turns your victories into battles, your love into guilt, and your money into her leverage. And most men? They don't even notice it's happening. They think it's normal until it's too late. But once you recognize the patterns, you'll never look at her behavior the same way again. In this video, I'm breaking down 6 toxic patterns that reveal exactly who you're dealing with. And trust me, the last one is the reason so many men end up broke, broken, and blindsided. Before we dive in, quick request. If this topic already hits close to home, do something simple right now. Tap that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps this message reach more men who desperately need it. And I want you to answer me honestly with a simple yes or no in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where something felt off, but you couldn't explain why? Because in just a moment, I'm going to break down the very first toxic pattern, and when you see it, you'll finally understand why those uneasy feelings kept creeping in. Toxic pattern. Number 1. She's always the victim. Have you ever met someone who could twist absolutely anything, no matter how small, into a story where she's the poor, innocent victim? With this kind of woman, it doesn't matter what really happened. She will always find a way to paint herself as the one who was wronged, and you as the villain. Here's how it plays out. You find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do. You carry guilt that was never yours to begin with. And slowly you start to believe you're always the problem. At first, you might excuse it. You'll tell yourself, maybe she just had a bad day. Maybe she's been through a lot. But it never stops there. Every disagreement, every conflict, every bump in the road, you're always the guilty one. And when you try to defend yourself, she doubles down. She uses tears, blame, and endless stories about how unfair life has been to her. Before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle. You're constantly trying to fix problems that don't even belong to you. And here's the truth. That's not just exhausting. That's dangerous. Because once you start believing you're always wrong, you lose sight of reality. You stop trusting your own judgment. You hesitate to speak up, to stand up, even to breathe freely, because you're scared of triggering another performance of poor me. A real, mature relationship requires 2 adults who can both own their mistakes. Without that, there's no balance, no growth, no trust. If she's always the victim, you're not in a partnership. You're in a courtroom, and the verdict is always the same. You're guilty. She's innocent. The longer you stay in that setup, the more you lose pieces of yourself. Here's the wake-up call. The moment you recognize this pattern, you have to stop trying to fix what isn't yours to fix. Do not play the role she's written for you, because in her script, you will always be the villain. And in that kind of story, you can never win. Toxic pattern. Number 2, she plays games. Let's move to the second toxic pattern. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a constant guessing game, chances are you probably were. With a toxic woman, nothing is ever straightforward. She won't tell you what she really wants, but she'll punish you for not figuring it out. She'll give you silence instead of answers, distance instead of clarity, and then act like you failed her. At first, you might confuse this with excitement. The chase, the unpredictability, the highs and lows. It feels like passion. But don't get it twisted. That roller coaster isn't love. It's emotional gambling. Every time you invest more of yourself, you're pulling a lever, hoping for a reward. And just like in a casino, the house always wins. She controls the silence, the drama, the pace of the relationship. And you keep coming back for more, hoping this time will be different. But here's the truth. Those games aren't harmless. They're designed to keep you off balance, to make you crave her approval like a drug. When she pulls away, you panic. When she comes back, you feel relief. That push and pull becomes addictive. And that's exactly how she keeps control. Psychologically, this behavior often comes from insecurity and immaturity. Instead of building trust, she tests it. Instead of communicating directly, she manipulates. And the trap is brutal. The more invested you are, the more she raises the stakes. Here's the bitter pill. If she's playing games at the start, that's not going to magically change when you commit. If anything, it gets worse, because now she knows you're hooked. A real partner doesn't make you guess. A real partner communicates clearly. So when you spot someone who thrives on games, recognize it for what it is, a trap. Walk away before you waste years trying to win a game that was never designed for you to win. Because in her playbook, you're not meant to be her equal. You're meant to be her pawn. Toxic pattern. Chapter 3. Achievement becomes competition. This one is huge. And it's subtle, which makes it even more dangerous. One of the most revealing signs of a toxic partner is how she reacts when something good happens in your life. A supportive woman will celebrate your wins as if they were her own. She'll push you forward, lift you up, and remind you of your worth. But a toxic woman, she treats your success like an attack. You get a promotion? Instead of celebrating, she criticizes how much time you spend at work. You get in shape? Instead of admiring your discipline, she accuses you of showing off. You get praise from friends or colleagues. She sulks or dismisses it. Why? Because in her world, your shine dims hers. She can only feel good about herself if you're not doing better than her. The trap here is subtle. You start to shrink yourself to keep the peace. You downplay your wins. You hide your achievements. You even tiptoe around your own progress. Imagine working your whole life for growth, only to feel guilty when you finally achieve it. That's not love. That's sabotage disguised as intimacy. And here's what most men miss. This behavior comes from insecurity and comparison. She measures her worth against yours. If you rise, she feels like she falls. But instead of working on herself, she drags you back down. And the longer you accept it, the more you train yourself to believe that success is dangerous. That growth will cost you peace at home. Here's the truth. A woman who cannot celebrate your success will eventually resent you for it. And resentment doesn't disappear. It festers, poisons, and destroys. If every milestone turns into a competition, you're not on the same team. You're opponents, living under the same roof. And that's not a relationship. That's a war. That's the first 3 toxic patterns every man needs to spot before it's too late. 1. She's always the victim. 2. She plays games. 3. She turns your success into competition. In the next part, we're going even deeper. Because the next 3 signs, envy, control, and financial manipulation, are the ones that most often destroy men's freedom, finances, and futures. In the last part, we uncovered the first 3 toxic patterns. 1. She's always the victim. 2. She plays games. 3. She turns your success into competition. And now we move into the darker half, the 3 signs that don't just hurt your confidence but can completely destroy your freedom, your identity, and your future. These are the patterns that leave men broke, broken, and blindsided. So pay close attention, because the next one is one of the most suffocating experiences a man can ever go through. Toxic pattern G4. Excessive envy and jealousy. Jealousy is a natural human emotion. Everyone feels it sometimes. In small doses, it can even be flattering, like, wow, she really cares about me. But when jealousy becomes the center of the relationship, it turns toxic fast. With this type of woman, every story you tell, every name you mention, every glance at your phone becomes a trial where you're the suspect. Imagine this. You're just telling her about your day at work. You casually mention that a female colleague helped you with a project. Instantly, her tone changes. She accuses, she doubts, she lashes out. Not because you did anything wrong, but because, in her mind, any woman around you is a threat. Suddenly, an innocent conversation spirals into an argument, and you're left confused, frustrated, wondering how you became the bad guy simply for sharing your life. This kind of constant suspicion is suffocating. It steals your freedom to simply exist without explanation. And the trap is this. The more you try to prove yourself, the less she believes you. The goalposts keep moving. No matter what you do, you can never win. Here's the psychology. Excessive jealousy usually comes from deep insecurity. But instead of owning that insecurity, she projects it onto you. So she snoops through your phone. She demands your passwords. She questions every move you make, and she calls it love. Don't be fooled. Love doesn't chain you to a microscope. Love doesn't treat you like a suspect. What starts as jealousy quickly becomes control. And over time, you stop being open. You stop sharing, because you know every detail will be twisted against you. And that silence, that kills intimacy. That suspicion, that kills trust. What's left is not a relationship. It's a prison. Here's the hard truth. A woman who can't trust you without proof will never feel secure, no matter how much you sacrifice. Because the issue isn't you, it's her. Until she heals that insecurity herself, you will always be the target of her fear. Remember this, jealousy may start as a spark, but once it becomes a wildfire, it burns down everything good in a relationship. Toxic pattern. Number 5. Controlling behavior. Now let's talk about control. There's a big difference between boundaries and control. A boundary is about respect. Control is about power. And when you're with a toxic woman, it won't take long before you realize she doesn't just want love. She wants command. At first, it looks subtle. She questions who you spend time with. She criticizes how you dress. She suggests you stay home instead of going out. But over time, those suggestions turn into rules. Suddenly, she's dictating where you go, who you talk to, how you live. The emotional impact is suffocating. Imagine working all day only to come home and feel like you've clocked into another shift where every move is monitored. And here's the cruel twist. Many men mistake this control for care. You think, she just loves me so much. She wants to protect me. But real love gives freedom. Real love trusts. Control is not protection. It's possession. And once you belong to her in that way, you're no longer her partner. You're her property. Psychologically, controlling behavior often comes from fear of abandonment. But instead of working on herself, she tries to manage that fear by managing you. It's easier for her to clip your wings than face her own insecurity. The longer you allow it, the smaller your world becomes. Your friendships fade, your hobbies disappear, your independence erodes. Until one day you look in the mirror and don't even recognize yourself. And the worst part? Control never stops once it starts. It only expands. Reality check. A relationship should feel like a partnership, not a cage. If she can't love you without controlling you, what she wants isn't love. It's dominance. And a man who surrenders to that will eventually lose not just his freedom, but his very identity. Toxic pattern number 6. Financial manipulation. This is the big one. And it has destroyed more men's lives than almost any other pattern. Because money isn't just paper. Money is security. Money is freedom. Money is the power to build a future. And when you're with the wrong woman, money becomes her favorite weapon. It often starts small. She insists on expensive dates. She hints at luxury gifts. She jokes about wanting a designer bag. You brush it off at first. She just has high standards. But soon you notice a pattern. She's only excited when you're spending. She's affectionate when you're paying. She's distant when you're not. You're not her partner. You're her ATM. For men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, this trap is especially devastating. After decades of hard work, one manipulative woman can drain everything in just a few years. And she'll disguise it as love. She'll say, "If you loved me, you'd buy this." She'll call it your duty to provide. But look closely. Does she build with you, or does she bleed you? Here's the painful truth. Love doesn't require payment. Companionship is not a subscription service, and marriage doesn't protect you either. Many men discover that once financial manipulation enters a relationship, it only grows. She'll ignore budgets. She'll rack up debt in your name. She'll demand upgrades that sabotage your future. And when you push back, she'll guilt you into compliance. The emotional cost is just as high as the financial one. You start to equate your worth with your wallet. You believe love only exists when you're spending. Instead of building a legacy, You burn through your resources just to keep the peace. And when the money runs dry, so does her affection. Remember this: what you allow is what will continue. If you set no boundaries with money, don't be surprised when she sees no limit. A healthy woman will want to build a future with you. She'll respect savings, share responsibility, and treat money as a tool for both of you, not a prize for her. But if she only sees your wallet, understand this: the more you give, the less of yourself you'll have left. Guard your finances as fiercely as you guard your heart. Because once she's drained your resources, she won't stick around for the ashes. She wasn't there for you. She was there for what you could provide. Closing part 2. So now you've seen all 6 toxic patterns. 1. She's always the victim. 2. She plays games. 3. She turns your success into competition. 4. She's consumed by jealousy. 5. She controls every part of your life. 6. She manipulates you financially. But here's the important point. Seeing one of these once in a while doesn't mean she's beyond redemption. People have flaws. People make mistakes. But when these behaviors become patterns, that's when you need to wake up. Because those patterns don't just hurt, they destroy.